Welcome to CodeCreative. I'm Travis Tolson. All right, so today we're going to kick off part 6, the episode that shouldn't be. If we had gotten part 5 to kick off properly, we would not have a part 6, but here we are. So to pick up where we left off, last time we had successfully managed to break down our CSS code into basically two different style themes, one using Bootstrap and the other using kind of a custom set of CSS classes that we're coming up with. And that's to enable supporting either plugging this widget into an existing Bootstrap-driven service portal theme or using it in a completely custom service portal with its own theme, separate from Bootstrap and insulated from as many ServiceNow changes as possible. All right, so with that, we've got all of these currently set to the custom theme. So just to quickly recap on how the theme switching works, we created some we created a instance option, and we can flip from the Bootstrap version to our custom version. So there's an example of one flipping over to the Bootstrap, and then we can turn around and flip it back by switching the theme class to custom. And there we go. Okay, so now at this point, we can actually start digging into our CSS itself. And I have my handy-dandy in-house designer here with me to help work through this one, and we were having some conversation last time.
You just call me your handy-dandy designer like I'm your handy-dandy notebook or something, Steve. This is not Blue's Clues.
A clue!
I'm going to give you a clue. All right, so we're going to do the thing today?
Yeah, so we're actually going to do the thing today. We fixed the JavaScript last time and made sure that all of our equal signs were double and not the assignment operator. So at this point, we can start theming this out a little bit more. So I'm going to get rid of my scripts. Hopefully we won't need them this time, and we can focus on just the CSS, SCSS. Now, to get us started, I've got, what do I have? I don't remember. I thought we put a class on here somewhere.
You put it in the client script.
Oh, did I?
Because I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Wait, it's Steve. Why is it Steve?
No, you were playing with something and made it Steve. You did something else the other
I
night.
I didn't finish setting it back. Apparently I didn't save it, and I left the class as Steve previously.
Good job.
It happens.
After all that mess with the equal signs, I think you're allowed to forget that.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Gosh, when did we create that intro? That one was
a while ago.
Yeah. But thanks for the kudos on the intro. We did that one ourselves a few years back, and I think I got to use it on like one or two videos before I stopped doing the videos because it was taking me too long to edit them.
So here we are.
All right, so let's see. So we were going to do CC skeleton list, I think was the class we were going with last time. And that's going to be up here, up on this almost top level div. Might be able to actually get rid of my... Oh, that's why, because I flipped between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got that one that's just a general wrapper. And then this one that's actually our, basically the Bootstrap panel.
Okay.
So we should have a CC skeleton class, and I'll inspect and we'll find out. And there it is. CC skeleton list is on that div right here in our class attribute. So now we can use that to piggyback on. Now I'm assuming the first thing you want me to do is get rid of the little bulleted list.
Yeah, get rid of the bulleted list.
All right, let's go for the basics.
List style.
So first we'll go CC skeleton list, and because we're using SCSS, we can nest inside. And so I'm going to say UL, the UL that's inside. And so this is going to target any UL element that is a child of this outside one that gets the CC skeleton list class.
This trips me up every time I see it in somebody else's code. I mean, I know what it is, but it bothers me. Not
you don't
how
like,
it's supposed to
you
be.
don't like the nesting?
No, it bothers. And I know it's so much neater and cleaner, but I don't know.
So the way that she prefers to do it is the traditional CSS style, which would look like this. Now, SCSS is basically a preprocessor, and what it's going to do is it's going to take this markup and it's going to convert it to this markup in the final rendered CSS style sheet. So this is just syntactic sugar, basically, to help make it easier to comprehend the CSS overall, I guess. For me personally, the reason I like this one is because if I want to get all of the styles for this particular component, I can just copy the whole gist of it here.
That's true.
So it does have its advantages in some places. Honestly, though, if you're doing, we may end up breaking this one down a little bit more as we go and shuffling some stuff off to the theme. I feel like most of the time, if you get a really good theme setup, you don't run into this so much.
I put as much as I can with like panel styles, things like that, into my theme record, and then
PHX devs with you. He says he likes the other way.
See, you're outnumbered.
I'm outnumbered. All right, so list style type, none. I'll get rid of the padding for now. We'll probably put the padding elsewhere. You want me to put the border on now?
No.
No?
No
okay, there's no border by default, so we should be fine there.
Oh, because you removed those classes and the borders on those bootstrap classes.
Right. All right, so now our bulleted list is gone, and now we've just got a pile of text junk.
Okay.
Okay. So do you have something in mind for how you wanted me to go about it?
First of all, I like to do kind of a floating card look, but it does better when you have the page not white. So can you change the background color of the page to a light gray? For which I can give you the hex code because I'm very picky about my grays.
Let's see.
You do it from the portal.
I want to say that there's a bootstrap variable for that. So let's go to our bootstrap 3 SCSS variables in GitHub.
What is it? It's like body background.
Yeah.
Should be in your portal record.
Body background.
Yeah.
And I think there's also like a special one for the home page that may be specific to service portal though. Let's see. CSS variables, nada. Well, let's check it in my theme then. Maybe I can drop it in the theme. Was I just using Lajala theme? Body background. FR inverse background. That's it? Just those two? Okay, there we go. There's some more backgrounds. Button success, button primary, all the backgrounds.
Yeah, just body background.
Okay. I'll stick it in the portal record. So to specify, you have a hex code for that one?
F2, F2, F2. And that's just one I like. I forget where I picked that one up at, but the other ones I'll use is Illustrator has some color swatches for grays, and I'll use those. But if a client has a specific shade of gray that they use in their style guide, I'll use that and do shading off of that.
Okay.
But I like F2, F2, F2.
Body background, Fox 2.
See, now you want your panel background to be white, and it'll show up very nicely.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It changed.
Okay, I can't tell.
I saw it change, promise.
Okay, I will take your word for it.
Well, I'm down here and your screen is tilted in such a way that the color is really weird over here, so I could tell that it changed.
Oh, okay. All right, so we got our background set, and so I'm assuming you want me to make you want to go with the white background?
Yeah, white background.
Okay. So we'll make the whole background color
Then you want to lift that off the page just a hair with a box shadow.
CSS box shadows.
2 pixel, 2 pixel, 5 pixel, and then use the RGBA to do black.
225 RGBA?
Yeah.
Okay.
I start with that.
Box shadow, 2 pixel, 2 pixel.
And what those numbers do, the first two...
You said 225?
Yeah. The first two numbers give you the X and Y offset. And then the last one, I think, is your blur, how far out it's going to blur. And then the last number, if you want to do an opacity, you want to use RGBA. You can, however, use your SAS variable colors, and you can also use Hex Code in this. But this is the easiest way to use opacity, I believe.
I want to say that Hex Code may actually support the alpha layer now.
I think it does. I've tried it with that and the SAS variable, and it does.
I don't know how cross-browser supported that is, though.
Oh, the opacity needs to come down. See, that's a little dark. You don't want it to look like... You want it to be real subtle. And that's the key in a lot of these little design items is...
How's that?
That's good. Maybe a little too subtle. What'd you change it to?
A little too rough.
What'd you change it from?
I changed it from 0.5 to 0.05.
Are you serious? No, do like 0.2.
Well,
0.2. That's a big, like 50% opacity versus 5% opacity is a huge range.
I'm just going to drive this right off a cliff. We'll be good.
See, you've got just enough, and then if you wanted it, that blur and that offset is going to control how off the page it looks. Think about the shadow of a piece of paper you're holding over your desk.
I don't understand what the big deal was. I still had a 5 in the number.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's work on the heading. We need to put padding around the whole box, and the way I like to handle that is by using another layer div with just padding all around it, but you know.
Okay, and that depends on where you're looking to put your borders too.
I don't put borders.
Oh.
Actually, I might do a border. You can start with a 1 pixel border.
Where we're going, we don't need borders.
And this is kind of a personal gripe that I have. I like the out of box, especially the newer themes for Service Portal, but one thing I like to try and avoid is wearing out my user's eyes with boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. When you have just list, and each list item has a border around it, it's a lot of lines. So what I like to do is take out your unnecessary lines.
I'm already using EMs. I feel like I made a mistake with that, but we'll go with it. lately I've been trying to shift from using EM to root EM, just because root EM gives you greater consistency. EMs, each time you use an EM, so like if I specify a font size EM here, and then another font size EM here, and then another font size EM here, when they're nested like that, they multiply on one another, whereas the root EM is always referenced to your root elements base font size, basically. So I've been trying to get back to the root EMs, and I'm gonna take a risk here real quick and just see if my EMs and my root EMs are anywhere in the ballpark of each other.
By the way, Andrew likes my box shadows too.
Yeah, well, what happened?
I usually do like 15 pixels. I don't know what that translates to in rems. Do you call it rems? Or is it like REM, you have to spell out the letters?
Oh, heck if I know.
Oh, that works. Okay, let's work on the title.
All right, working on the title.
You gotta go back to the code so I can look at it.
Oh.
There. Where is the title? Title. It doesn't have a class at all. It's just in a div.
It's just in a div right now.
Lame.
I can give you a title.
Give me like a H3. Give it the class H3. Could we change the font?
Do we want to specify an H3 on it, or do we want to give it a class?
We can give it a class, because the thing about the heading titles that Bootstrap uses, that ServiceNow uses, they come with a lot of margin attached, and this way we can like pick the margin and all that. Okay. Now I will say, when I'm setting up a service portal, one of the first things I do is set typography. I like to get away from from the system fonts by using Google Fonts or Base64 encoding or something like that. And in a separate CSS include, I will set up each of the headings for the font family I'm using. And I've tended to stick with the out-of-box sizes. And I'll just change them on a widget basis if I need to. But see, all this should be handled ideally in a CSS include outside. So all you're doing is attaching the appropriate typographical heading class, and then you don't have anything to put in here. But here we go.
All right, so I'm going to add, I want to say it was custom, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm, because it wasn't awesome like I told you it should be.
No, it was not awesome. All right, so skeleton list title. All right.
Font size. Let's start with 24 pixels and see what I think of it. This is
got that in EMs?
No.
Dang.
2 EMs?
Let's go with it. Or rems. Yeah, rems. 2 rems.
The out-of-box uses pixel sizes to determine.
Well, and again, I prefer to use the EMs and the REMs because it gives you, if you go back and you decide to change this later, you know, once upon a time, 12 pixel font was the most common font size on the web, just by nature of screen sizes, screen resolutions, you know, and everything else. And so there was that fairly standard size that was used across the board. These days, it's more typical to see 16 pixel and 18 pixel font base font sizes, and some sites I've seen going up as far as 24. And when you specify everything in terms of pixel sizes, then when you ultimately go back and try to adjust that, you have to adjust every single class as you go through. You have to adjust every single class where you've used pixels. But if you've used EMs and REMs, then everything is proportional to a base value, and all you have to do is change the base value, and everything else responds to it. Is this an everyday? Jace asks if this is an everyday thing. This is anytime I can work on side project type stuff in between kids and work, and if I get up early enough and get my regular job done in time, then yes. So far it's worked out really well, but I don't think it's going to be an everyday sort of thing. Be kind of nice though. You're nodding your head, but in disagreement.
I enjoy this. Consistency is not my strong point. I probably shouldn't say that. I bumped it up to 2.5 REMs.
Oh, okay. So I probably need to change that in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we change the font?
Can we change the font?
Yes.
Probably not easily. Well, I mean, easily is relative, because why don't we fix everything else and then we can go back for the font?
Oh, that would be awesome. Okay, you need some padding. What we're going to do to this heading is we're going to give it a underline.
Okay.
So instead of like using the underline,
just an underline?
No,
or like full border.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Instead of an underline, you want it to like go all the way across, and giving it like a 2-pixel border.
Border bottom?
Mm-hmm.
2-pixel solid.
What colors do we have colors?
Blark.
Not Blark. Do blue just to show what it does, and then we can pick a color, because the other thing that I like to do when I'm setting up a portal before diving into widgets is to set up my color
palette. Yeah.
As well. See? Is there padding under there?
Padding under the border?
No, under the title.
Doubt it.
Because usually I put like 5 pixels, just a little bit of a just a little bit of padding under it, but it doesn't seem to need it there.
Oh, it doesn't seem to need it?
Mm-mm. That's why I'm wondering if there's already padding there.
Let's find out. So if you want to know what padding's there, we can right-click Inspect Element. And if there was padding, we would see like a little green box. So let me add some padding real quick. 1 EM, for example. And you can see that that over here it highlights in green the padding. Margin is highlighted in orange, and then the main content box is highlighted in blue. And you can see a diagram of and borders in yellow. I forgot about border. But you can see the box model down here, and you can see each of them highlighted in context, which is amazing. There we go.
See what that inner padding that we set up did was it sets it so that line going across doesn't completely cut off, but it's like it's more like the heading to a list and less like the panel on a window or something like that.
Yeah.
The heading on a window or whatever. So now we need some padding to separate our title from our list items.
So now, do we want to? Well, here, let me just show you one way I can do that. And I know I'm mixing the nesting and the not nesting, and
you never cross the streams, man.
I don't like nesting it too far. I like some initial nesting, but I don't like going too far with it.
See, if I'm going to nest it, I'm going to nest it like
all
the way
in.
No, if you got to commit, man. If you're going to do this, you got to commit to it, even if it's another baby.
Let's go 0.5 EM to start and see where that gets us.
See, we're a crash course on padding versus margin.
So, like, is it enough to have it butt up against the top as long as there's padding within the list item, or does it have to have?
I would like a little more to separate the list items. And the other thing is we're going to put a border in between each of the list items, but it's not going to be real boxy. We're talking something light, very that's too much. What did you do that for?
Because we're going to go for one side, for the other, and we'll bounce back and forth until we find something in the middle.
Mind you, in the early days of Service Portal, he would put it up on our projector screen, and I'd be like, move it this way, move it that way, move it back this way, until I was happy with it.
She will move it 1 pixel at a time.
See, you need additional space at the top of the list because you've got the top and bottom margin here in between, so it's a wider space. But see, at the top, it's still not.
Got it.
It's not bigly. It needs
to be
bigly.
Bigly. All right, so how about we add it in the margin?
Like 10 pixels. I don't like using pixels.
I don't like using pixels.
I want to use REMs.
Well, and this is going to make it the same as this here.
I'm a pixel Nazi, just so we're clear. I do use
Welcome, Mark Scott.
I do use percentages and stuff, though.
And yes, Jace, that was before she actually crossed over and started developing on Service Portal. She's been she's been pushing my pixels around for a very long time now.
I'm the shadow coder. Not shadow coder, like shadow designer.
Is that better?
It needs more.
Needs more.
This is why I told you pixels.
There. Yeah, I see what you're going for, but I have to manage the code side of it. Sorry. I'm sorry. You'll understand why soon.
I'm sure I will, but in the meantime, there's not enough space between that list and its heading.
So it's looking like you're not wanting it to be the same then.
What do you mean?
That
margin bottom?
That margin bottom is 7.5 and 7.5 padding top. So they are. So there's the same amount of space between that blue line and that text as there is in between.
Yeah, I don't like that. It needs to be a little bit more.
Well, actually, it might be the line height making the difference.
And yes, a good bit of this is me just putting in a value I think is approximate. I have certain values I'll go to, like 20 pixels of padding or margin is like my go-to when I'm trying to set something up. And I look at it and I don't like that. And I look at it and I don't like that.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Now you want to put a border bottom here in between each of your list items.
In between the list items. Yeah. All right, so to get this one.
Border bottom.
Border bottom.
1 pixel solid, F2, F2, F2. See, Jace, F2, F2, F2.
No. And then I think we also may end up needing to negate the last child or something like that.
Yep. You negate the last child. Or alternatively, you can do it on the top and negate the first child. I can see it. See, it's just enough. You don't want it to be a lot. We may want to go a little darker, but you don't want to go much darker. And Jace, as far as where'd he go? How much space needs to be there? I like there to be enough space to differentiate. Like this is your heading, then you have your list items. He's all about refreshing with F5. So it's I don't know. I feel like when there's even spacing between the items, it makes it feel like the heading is just another item in the list. So I like to give a little more separation than that. Kind of give it room to breathe. Yeah, it needs to be darker. Or maybe that's just your monitor.
can't tell if there's a line over here or not.
There isn't.
Is it just a separation between the...
That's just the separation between the widgets.
You know what? I gotta fix that real quick.
Give it some margin bottom.
Yeah, we gotta give some...
Are you referring to the way I just talked about spacing it out, Jace?
Okay, I feel better now. I mean, it's not great, but it's better.
That's better.
Nope, I don't feel better.
Why don't...
I don't feel better. It's not enough. Okay, now I feel better.
Feeling better is not... You can't code based on feeling better. You have... There's got to be a point.
Search your feelings. You know that to be false.
That's very true.
All right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I ascribe to the TLAR method of design. That looks about right. Okay, now...
I feel like I should have gone the other way. I feel like I should have done margin top, not margin bottom.
It's okay.
Should we flip it?
It'll be fine. It's fine.
Want to flip it?
No. Oh, gosh. That's not the focus.
Squirrel. And...
We should do this while drinking.
I feel better about that.
Yeah, I feel better about that too.
Not the drinking, the margin.
I think you should feel better about... We should do this live at Knowledge while drinking.
No,
yes.
That's live coding happy hours thing.
Well, we should do it with them then.
That sounds like a plan.
I've never watched live coding
Barnes!
happy hour. Sorry. Right? Okay. So, next we need to talk about the information within these list items.
And Jace, in case you missed it, TLAR, that looks about right.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, what were we doing?
So another reason why typography is important. You have your list items in here. You have enough separation so you can visually look and see and like differentiate among the different list items. But one thing that we're missing is hierarchy. One thing that typography can do using your headings or different font styles and what have you. No!
Wow. It didn't work.
Do not put that in Comic Sans. One thing is you can establish the hierarchy, which basically means you're showing the user which information is the most important. The normal list view does this by putting whatever you list as the primary, like the request item number and all that, as a little bit larger and in a more prominent. Jace is trying to trigger me, I swear. No, I do like mono fonts, but I like some amount of brain. What's the word when they look different? Contrast. I like some amount of contrast. Like right now I'm in love with Railway, which is just a Google font, and I might use that for my headings and all that, and I may use that for my primary item, like your primary bit of information, like the request item number here. But then these other ones I would have in the system font or something else like Roboto or something like that. So we need to create some visual hierarchy here.
Okay.
Yes, there are.
So how are we going to create that hierarchy?
Well, you got to go look at the thing.
What thing?
The code thing.
Oh, code thing.
Code thing.
Okay.
Okay, so your list primary information.
I don't have any classes on these items.
You have no classes. See, I will use some Bootstrap classes because I'm noobish like that, I guess. I don't know.
No, the Bootstrap classes are fine. Just I plan on using some of these components that I make later on when I build my own master theme, and I don't want Bootstrap's interference.
Okay. It's okay, Jace. I appreciate your love of monofonts.
I can give you classes, though.
I am a certified font snob. I like geometric fonts more right now. Those are fonts where the letter forms take more geometric shapes, like the O's are more perfect circles, things of that nature.
Jace, are you a font snob and you're just not willing to say? You could change the fonts now. It would make me feel better. You should dive into the deep end of the pool. Go check out like Typewolf is a website that I go to look at
we're not there yet.
Font pairings and things like that. Why?
We're totally not there yet.
What do you mean we're not there yet?
Because I still have a blue line here.
We need to use like this color up
this
here.
That one?
Yeah.
All right. So let's change our blue to, what is that? Brand primary, I think, isn't it?
A literal ruler to the screen. Wow. I've never seen that before, Mark.
Is that it? I can't tell.
I'm really bad at saying what the people in chat are saying, so when somebody listens to this video later, they're going to be like, what is she talking about? Sorry. Mark commented that he used to work for a designer that would take a literal ruler to the screen. He says he was never a design snob for anything. I am for certain things.
1 Fox 8 4
I'm here to spread the good news about white space and how it is not wasted space. I have not heard of Fracture. Is that how you pronounce that? What is that? Now I have to look it up.
All right. I just applied the brand primary color that is not the same as the navbar color in this particular case.
Oh, that's so pretty.
I've just lost her. She's now checking out Fracture. All right, folks, we're on our own now.
No, we're not on our own.
Comic Sans, here we come.
I hate you. Fracture is a very pretty gothic calligraphy script. Think your old style Dark Ages type stuff. I'm very bad at describing things. Stuff. Yeah, that. Okay.
All right.
We fixed the line.
So I've given you classes.
Okay.
So what do we want to do?
Okay.
We need that title bigger, right?
Yeah, that title needs to be bigger.
The list item title?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And that can stay that green color because that's your primary bit of information. I do like the way the out-of-box simple list gives you that visual hierarchy. Is they don't just do it with font sizes, they also do it with colors, making that secondary information the text muted class. Hello, little boy.
Excuse me. Mom?
You're on the air live. You know that, right?
The whole world can hear you.
We're streaming live. Everybody can hear you. So don't request anything embarrassing.
Never mind.
What do you need for Roro? Y'all, he's all nervous and stuff.
Mom.
Hold on, I gotta catch up on the...
You're not Mom.
My dad.
Yes. And then...
Can I go over to a friend's house?
Did you do your chores and stuff?
All right, let's see.
Yes, go. Go with your bad self.
So that can still be the green color, you said?
Yeah, that could still be... Hold on, I have to catch up on chat.
Oh.
Mark claimed that this designer made him read a typography book. And you said, isn't that his job? No, everybody should know about good typography, Mark. He did you a favor. I did notice Jace talking about this font, that there was an episode of 99% Invisible that that was dealing with it. And I'll have to say, if y'all have never listened to Roman Mars talk about design, it's mesmerizing. His podcast is really interesting because it's not just like web design or like print design. It's like the design of all kinds of different things. So y'all should give it a listen. What are you doing?
Messing with numbers. We were working on the title size.
That's fine. I like that.
That's fine?
Mhm.
Okay.
Why is that on a different line now?
Why is what on a different line?
See this right here where Apple iPad 3 is on a different line?
That's not the title on that one. It goes title, description, meta.
Oh, well, there's a little
Dot there?
dot there.
Yeah, that's because of...
You gotta fix the dot.
Field display value. So basically the display value on this one has no value. Not what we wanted.
Mark said, if I wasn't waist deep converting a system from 1.2 billion rows to an API, the font seemed trivial. Yeah, I don't blame you. The font would be pretty trivial to me too at that point.
That didn't go well.
Though I have to say, you should never discount a good font.
See, it's there. It was just an empty string.
Oh, okay.
We can play with that more some other time.
Okay, the little details there on the bottom row need to be grayed out. I like the way... I am following a lot of the styles that the...
Okay, so let's do UL, LI, LI, CC, skeleton, list, item.
A lot of times the design comes down to the content you're working with the information you have in the simple list. A lot of the ways that they put the information in there is just fine. So I don't tend to deviate from it that much. I may change out some of the styles of the outer panel and the heading, but the actual hierarchy and the way the list items display, I tend to stick with what comes out of box unless they're the style guide of the client pushes me in another direction.
What do we got for color?
What is this?
This is the meta.
Oh,
You wanted a gray?
do the text muted color.
I don't know what that one is.
717171. Why do I know these things?
I don't know.
I bet Nathan Firth knows all of them by the back of his hand.
And I floated it over to the right.
Yeah.
Or aligned it to the right.
Okay, so you aligned it to the right.
Mhm.
But why?
Fun.
Mm-mm.
No, don't like it?
Mm-mm.
Well, fine then.
Because when you have the state active, it sits over on the right.
Because when you have what?
Or maybe this isn't the custom list widget that I do, but when I have the state of the item, like whether it's opened or closed or whatever, that sits on the right over by itself.
Over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not
That's
in
not
this
out of box.
one.
Oh, okay, that's mine then. Sorry.
Well, it's not in this one.
Mm-hmm. But the other thing is, could you make it so they're like on the same level?
On the same level.
Yeah. So
Oh, like that one there
Mhm.
and that one's up on the same line next to the description.
Yeah,
That may conflict with the longer ones.
it might.
Well,
Which
I mean,
is something you do need to keep in mind is how it's going to look with different sizes of copy and all that. Just put it back on the left.
okay. Now that said, if we wanted to, we probably could have used Flexbox to to position some of those elements.
Can I tell y'all about Flexbox
Yeah.
and how much I love it?
Okay.
Mark makes a great point. Designers do great work, but it is a separation of concerns. And it's okay that you're not great with design, and it is what you say, but I'm not the best at coding. I know what the functionality should look like and know what it should do, but I found that pairing with somebody that's strong with coding, it lends to a superior product in the end. They each do have their points, and I think they're equally as important. Is that the math for the hex code?
Yeah, so hex code is just a hexadecimal representation um, of the numerical red, blue, green, or red, green, blue values. So, for example, let me grab a.
So you say hexadecimal, and I think about that old show from the 90s, Reboot. Did you watch that show?
No,
Oh
not
my
at all.
gosh, that show is awesome.
So generally in CSS,
I want to shoot Nerf guns. Why do the developers get to shoot Nerf guns?
so the main values you're usually working with colors is going to be red, green, and blue, and you're mixing those different colors together. So, for example, and it's on a scale up to 255. So 255, 255, 255 is full red, full green, full blue, which all the colors mixed together help. I don't do color wheels.
That's white.
That's white? Okay.
And 000 is black.
That's right. The absence of color is black. The presence of all colors is... Got it. Okay. So this one would be the 100% presence of red, green, and blue. And then converting that to hexadecimal, you're just doing quite literally a hexadecimal conversion, base 16, I think, or something like that. So if we turn around and we go to...
That's what James said.
Decimal to hex. Well, I was hoping I would get the Google one, but that's fine. So if I go 255, 255 is FF. And so that way, in that way, this RGB is equivalent to FF, 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 and then we just stick the number sign up front to indicate that it's a hexadecimal value, that it's a hexadecimal color.
You're putting math in my art. I don't appreciate that.
Oh, there's a lot of math in art.
Oh yeah, like the Bezier curves and.
Mm-hmm. Well, even beyond that, even just from colors, because there's a couple of other color scales. For example, there's HSL, and a couple of other ones, and
there's HSL
basically,
and...
what is it? Peloton, not the bicycle.
By the way, James, I did see you're here. Thank you for joining us. He's the one that gave us the math.
Nice. So let's see. Fine tune. Not what I'm looking for. How do I switch from? I thought this one let me switch from between the different scales.
Coolers does, I think, if you want to use it.
Coolers?
Mm-hmm. Y'all, I love this website. It makes me so happy.
No, it's not what I'm looking for. I actually want the color wheel itself.
Mark said the American education system did us some dirty. I think so if James was learning how to calculate hex codes in school. We never got some of that. It is, James, and I have to say that I know it more from a practical standpoint more than the math behind it, because I do a lot of work in Illustrator, but it's really neat.
You know, basically, there's, if you look into some of the SCSS calculations, they have a number of color functions: lighten, darken, and there's a whole list of other ones. And basically, it is computing colors based on these numeric values, based on the RGB, based on the HSL. And it's really interesting when you dig into it, because I've found that you can actually come up with really, really good color palettes for web design just by, for example, fixing certain values, fixing the H, the S and the L, and just pivoting the hue around the color wheel. You can get really, really solid color palettes that way. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in color theory that's really fascinating, and when you look at the math behind some of it, it's...
James asked if anybody uses HSL, and Jace asked what it is. It's like RGB. It stands for hue, saturation, lightness.
So, yeah, HSL and HSV.
Ooh, we could get into color theory after this. Yeah, so, pretty much, Jace. It's another way to calculate color, but your hue is your red to purple, the actual hue. Then the saturation is kind of, if it has no saturation, it's grayscale. If it's very saturated, it's very colorful.
I love using HSL for actually using HSL is how we came up with the selection of different colors for the different apps in our suite.
Mm-hmm.
So for GlideFast, we were trying to come up with logos for an app suite that we were putting together. And so we wanted all the different applications to have colors that were comparable to one another, colors that worked really well together. So what we did was we found ourselves a nice muted saturation, and then we took and we moved the hue slider at equal intervals across the spectrum. So we basically mathematically computed an entire color palette so that we had a different color for each application, and they were equal. Those colors were equally spaced apart, and one of those colors, and I've shared this one before, so I'm comfortable sharing it here.
What color?
Storyboard.
Oh. Huh. That turned out so pretty.
Yeah, so this orange color here is one of the colors that was selected as one of those colors, and then we turn around and we worked our way around the different hues in the spectrum, moving an equal distance from each to come up with some of these different colors.
You can see it in the CRM Pro logo there.
Oh yeah, you can see it in the CRM Pro. There's another hue along that same saturation and lightness. But yeah, you can go down a really, really deep rabbit hole on color theory, design, white space grids. It's
color psychology.
Oh, color psychology. It's mind-blowing stuff. In a past life, I was licensed to do hair. They used it there as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the lady that does our hair actually used to be a graphic designer, and she carries a lot of those color principles over into her work now. Not that she's done that we do anything very colorful with our hair, but
yeah, she keeps trying to sell me on it though.
Dude, your hair would look so cool.
All right. So anything else that we need to do here before we get to fonts?
I like a hover effect.
A hover effect?
It does that light thing, but I like doing the background color just to do something, show them a little something different.
Okay, so in order to do hover.
And if the background color matches those borders we put in between each item, then the borders seem to disappear when on the hover effect, and it doesn't look like you have border and background hover, and so you want it to be the same color as the bottom border.
So we've got to use the hover pseudo selector on this one. Now, one thing I want to point out that not a lot of people, or honestly a lot of people overlook. I've answered this question for lots of folks that are trying to find ways to select a certain element. So, for example,
this used to infuriate me.
A lot of people think that these pseudo elements, these pseudo selectors have to come at the end of your CSS selector. That's not true. That's not the case at all. You can put these pseudo selectors anywhere in the overall selector. So for example, I could turn around and say li hover A Or let's say that I wanted to target the title, for example. I could grab this class here, and I could come in here, and basically anytime I hovered on the li element, it would change the properties of the title that is a child of the hover element. So don't feel like you have to stick these pseudo selectors at the end. They're very versatile. You can use them anywhere in your CSS selector. So we wanted to throw a background color instead. And what color did we? And she's gone. And yes, this is absolutely normal. This is exactly how this goes. She'll come in, she'll push some pixels, she'll disappear. I'll be completely lost for a while. Usually I'll spend this time trying to break things and making things look absolutely obnoxious so that when she gets back it looks horrible. But I'm gonna spare her that one this time.
What are you sparing me?
What?
What are you sparing me?
I was telling them that usually
gonna...
if you walk away, I'll turn around and I'll change something and manipulate it to make it horrible looking to bother you.
Why are you... This is akin to spousal abuse, I'm pretty sure. James, that's not funny. Background color tomato.
Tomato.
So let's talk about color psychology. The color red invokes feelings of danger or warning in your users, so you want to use red very, very sparingly. Why are you doing this?
Sorry, you went off on explanation. I needed a color. Tomato it is.
Oh, that's a pretty color, though. But
Isn't
no.
But tomato.
I like how on the thing it looks bright red, and on this screen it looks like this.
Yeah.
It's a different color. It's not like real red.
Something you have to keep in mind when picking colors, and this is one of the most irritating things ever.
Tomato.
Different displays. I don't know. What's the motto at you?
No, he says it tomato.
Different displays will show the color differently. So every display, every monitor has a color accuracy. And some are more accurate than others. So a MacBook, most of your Mac displays have really, really, really high color accuracy. My Samsung monitor over here that I'm actually showing you guys from has trash for color accuracy. Its color accuracy is terrible, way off from what it's supposed to be. Now, I don't know if... I'm guessing... Yeah, so your monitor will influence the color that you're seeing. So I don't think you're going to see the color exactly as I see it. But on my monitor, it's completely wrong, and it's completely different from what I see when I move it over to my MacBook. Oh, Mark Scott says you can even buy devices to calibrate monitor coloring if you're on that level.
Oh.
I might have to look into that because that might be that. I don't know. If it's cheaper than just buying the high color accuracy monitors, I might have to look into that.
I want a high color accuracy monitor. My birthday's in November.
We'll have to look into that. We got it.
Absolutely. James pointed out that for print design, color calibration is totally necessary. I own the Pantone swatch books, and I used them religiously for print design projects.
Oh my gosh, remember the first print project that you sent in to be done?
Yeah.
Oh, it came back so horribly off from what was on screen.
I learned my lessons the hard way.
Yes.
I've learned. Oh, that's not
about
bad.
$150, $200. That's not too bad at all. All right. So, what color did you actually want there, other than tomato?
What I said earlier, the same color as that little line.
Color of the line.
the border bottom, because that
Color
way
of the
when you
line.
hover,
Color
the
of the
borders
color.
meld into that background color, so it doesn't look like you've got a line on top of that hover. It looks more seamless.
Feeling good about that?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about that.
All right. What else? You want the fonts.
I don't know why you say that in
You
such a
want
resigned
the
tone.
fonts. All right.
It's like the first thing I take care of.
James Neal's wife is named Sarah with an H.
Good, she spells it right.
And she's a graphic designer.
James, we have to go to England now and have like dinner with them or something. Yes.
It's like everybody who works with ServiceNow tends to have biblical names.
It's a software of biblical proportions.
Hmm.
We haven't had any good puns, okay? You're falling down on the job.
I'm sorry, my bad. All right, so fonts.
Railway. Do it.
Railway. Is that a Google font?
It is a Google font.
Thank you.
It is a geographic Google font. It is very pretty.
Squirrel.
I might be using it in 2 of the applications I am developing right now.
All right, so in order to use Google Fonts are pretty painless. I can select the font family, and it's going to give me an import statement that I can use. So I can copy this import statement, and then I can drop this into...
A CSS include.
I'm still on the Lajala theme. Lajala. What?
I like it. I've heard a lot of divided opinions about the new ServiceNow branding. I really like it, and I really like the way that their marketing team has handled the brand with all of their campaigns and stuff.
I like it because I love donuts.
It is used a lot. Mark Scott asked if Railway is going to be Roboto 3 years ago, because it's everywhere. It may be, and fonts definitely become more. They definitely fall in and out of fashion the same way clothes or anything else does. I just happen to like it. Jace asked me if I like the toilet seat. It's not a toilet seat. It's a concerted look towards being more people-centric. It's the little user icon. And we all know it's not a toilet seat. It's a donut.
Donut! Double O Una.
But the color palette they went with was much more friendly. It's easier on the eyes. And like I said, the way that they have the extended color palette with the lavenders and the blues, it's and the way they use people in a lot of their marketing campaigns and stuff. I think it achieved the intended objective of being more people-centric. Yeah, exactly. It's a donut.
And if you've been following along with what I'm doing, I am switching out my theme so that I can manipulate it, because I don't want to touch the Lajala theme. That one's not mine. That is ServiceNow's theme, and they don't want me messing it up. So I've created a CodeCreative theme. We'll quickly reload. I don't know. Did that completely mess things up?
Did you mess things up?
I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Lajala. No, it actually stayed pretty consistent.
Yes. Andrew says you're getting a picture at Universal at the Homer Donut stand. I approve of this. So has it been confirmed? Are we going to Universal? Can anybody put in put in a word and say that needs to happen?
All right, so I am ready to import this font now. So what I was saying before is I've got to grab this import statement, and then I am going to go to my theme. Or actually, I got to create a CSS record, a CSS style sheet first.
You grab the whole import statement?
Yeah. Boom.
Oh, I grabbed the other thing you can do is do it as a URL and just paste in the URL.
As a dependency?
Mhm.
Yeah. So you can do it as an import statement. That's one way. The alternative approach would be creating a dependency. So let's leave real quick. Not a widget dependency. I can't remember this approach. I don't use it enough.
Mark asked, how do you pronounce it? Is it Jala or is it La Jolla?
Lahala. La Jolla?
So is it... oh, I've been saying it wrong all this time.
I have no idea.
I like the idea of being like La Jolla.
I kind of like Lahala. Where was I? I was trying to fit. So what's this approach that you use of...
I go to my theme record.
You go to your theme record.
I go down. I do a new CSS include. And I pick URL.
You pick URL. Oh, okay.
And then I put my URL in.
Okay,
My
well
life
that
is
seems...
good.
okay, we'll go with that.
I like easy.
We'll go with this approach.
Mark, you're probably right.
Learn something new every day. CSS include. Railway.
La Jolla. I can't get over how badly I've been mispronouncing that.
All right. So now...
Mark says he can place where you're from on how you pronounce it. So where's Travis from, Mark? That's the $10,000 question.
Man, that is a $10,000 question. All right, so I got the railway font. You want the whole thing railway?
You did? Where did he answer my question about, yes! We're going to Universal! Thank you, Andrew. You know, important things, you know, big work conference. And I'm like, I want to go to Universal. I was so jealous when Travis got to go a few years ago.
Yes. Oh, distracted again. So what needs to be railway? Are we doing just the titles and railway?
Just the title and the request item, that primary number.
Title and title?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that one's the font family.
You sound like you're from the Midwest.
Midwest? Wow. I don't think I've gotten that one before. The correct answer to where is Travis from is yes.
You've lived in the southeastern United States longer than you have any other region of the country.
I have, but you know, I was born in Virginia. I lived in Jersey forever. Lived in North Carolina for a while. Lived down here for a while. Down here being Alabama. I think Alabama is rapidly becoming the...
We've been down here
the
10
winner.
years in April.
I don't know if that's the winner or not. Straying way past where I design things. Stuff loaded on the page where I wanted incorrect data. My work is done. Good call, Andrew. Railway. Are these comma separated?
You gotta keep them separated. Yes.
What's-
Sans serif.
Sans?
Yes.
Like that?
Yes. I think yes.
Give it a shot.
Good enough for government work.
Yeah, why not? If it doesn't work, that's future Travis's problem.
Andrew says that North Carolina is greater than all those others. Are you from North Carolina, Andrew?
Oh, gosh. No. Don't. Please. Oh. Don't do it, Andrew. Don't do it. Let's see. All right, so I got railway in there.
North Carolina.
No.
I can't play that song every time I drive into the state anymore because we have children.
I have railway.
That looks nice.
Would you like something else?
No, I think that, and see, okay, first of all, if there's only one item, it's the last one and it shouldn't have the line there.
Oh, right. I forgot to remove the line. I can't even see the lines anyway.
Well, then make it darker. Make it like text muted or something.
Black.
No. Like I said, with these kind of things, you want it just noticeable to do its job and then disappear.
All right. So for that, we need ULLI. What is that? Last.
I do agree with Andrew, though. North
Last
Carolina
child?
is the best. Yes. North Carolina is the best state in the union, in my not so humble opinion.
Not so humble. That's accurate.
You're supposed to be nice to me. Here, I'll kick you.
Buttermelon. All right. Did that get rid of it?
Yes.
In the right places?
Yes.
Not the other places?
Not the other places. Do you want to
Okay,
make it darker?
I can actually kind of see it from this angle. It's the monitor over here.
Can you see it over there?
I can actually see it over here better on the small little the OBS, the stream preview thing.
Baby says he doesn't care.
Booga 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 booga.
Now, another thing I would do, which I don't know if we have time to deal with, but when I'm developing, I do try to start with what a mobile view would look like and then branch out. Mostly because doing it the other way is painful.
Fortunately, Simplest is one of those things that is harder to mess up. So INC bigger than. Yeah, I did notice that. What's up with that? Why are the letters bigger than the numbers? Is that just a railway thing?
The numbers aren't bigger. They are, I forget what the technical term is for it, but in some fonts the numbers are, they're pushed down or up depending on what number it is. It's a feature of...
It's a feature of railway.
Yeah.
I call it a bug.
It's a feature of a number of typefaces.
A bug.
Some of them have it to where you can choose whether or not the numbers appear like that or appear normally.
So you're saying that we're happy with that?
I like it.
Okay.
It's good enough. There are a couple little tweaks I might make if I was getting real picky, but
Okay. So we're good with that overall?
What you have is you've taken out a lot of those lines so you can focus more on the content instead of those visual barriers between each item and stuff like that. It's a little more clean. I tend to like the regular panel heading look when the heading actually does more than just showcase a title.
Right.
When you're just putting a title at the top of a list like we are here, I prefer a more simple approach.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, so there's nothing else that you're wanting to change at this point.
Not right now.
Okay.
We were just going for something kind of simple.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it pretty simple. So the last thing that I want to do here, SCSS default.
You're a very noisy baby.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, do you remember where default's supposed to be added? Not a word. Not a word.
What? You're going to your own guide.
Not a word.
Oh my gosh. He's going to his own guide.
I can't remember where default is supposed to go, but I remember that Past Travis answered this question for me somewhere. Use default on variables in the theme record in Kingston and later. See?
Oh, I could have told you that.
Well, I don't remember these things, so I write it down. Okay.
As for they've mentioned the baby babbles, and yes. We don't need Travis babbles.
Yeah, but it encourages baby babbles.
That's true.
This is my mini-me over here.
He's being cute today.
All right. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to introduce some SCSS variables. So for example,
The 717171 can be $ text muted.
where about?
Right here.
Okay, so this one can be $ text muted, which is coming from Bootstrap SCSS variables. And oddly enough, I tend not to. I tend to try. Oh goodness!
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Continue.
We were holding him incorrectly.
SAS variables.
Oddly enough, I don't try to avoid the Bootstrap SCSS variables in the same way that I try to avoid the Bootstrap CSS itself when doing custom stuff. I actually find that reusing some of the Bootstrap SCSS variables to a certain extent, especially when it comes to some of them base colors, it actually helps improve the portability of themes a little bit. So I do try to reuse them a little bit. And actually, I'm going to go in a slightly different direction on this one to start with. And that's going to be CC skeleton
Muted.
meta color. We'll go font color because I really don't like the way that CSS simplifies to just color. I always type font color. All right, so I'm going to create this variable here.
But what if you use your colors for something other than fonts?
Glad you asked. So what I like to do is I like to actually set up multiple tiers. And I'm going to pull up my iPad screen, and hopefully it is displayed. Aha, it is. Perfect.
Or are you going to draw?
I'm going to draw. Handy dandy notebook. So I like to create hierarchies of SCSS variables. And the way that this ends up working is, so you've got your component. And then you've got a theme. Well, component / widget. And then you've got your portal level. So what I like to do is within my components, I will create stuff like our CC skeleton meta font color. And it won't let me keep drawing off that side. Hold on, wait, no, that didn't work. Apparently I'm stuck with that. You know, and I'll turn around and I may actually reduce that to like CCS or something like that. I don't know, we'll see. But, you know, and then I may turn around and then do CC skeleton hover color. You know, and I'll create a set of variables at the component level. Then at the theme level, I'll create, I'll turn around and I'll create some next level up. So, you know, at the theme level, I might create a, you know, you've got your brand primary, for example. So I'll create a color palette. I'll create a color palette. I'll create a, let's say, card padding, for example. You know, I will create sensible defaults at the theme level. And then what I'll do is I'll assign, you know, our, let's see, what was that one you told me? Text muted?
Mm-hmm.
So then I'll turn around and I'll assign this one to the text muted color. Now, what this does is it creates a very elegant system where if you go back and look at a video that Sarah put together previously where she changes like 8 CSS variables and completely redoes the entire the entire portal theme, like the whole portal theme flips. I want to see if I can find that since we're actually talking about CSS today. Let's see.
Don't actually play it. My voice sounds awful on it.
Can I find it? Can I find it? Can I find it? Can I find it?
You might find it easier on my feed because I don't post as much.
Articles, posts, posts. Here we go. Let's see what happens. Don't worry, it's muted. So
SVG code rather than
it was supposed to be muted. So it starts out this blue color. Then she goes in and she changes a couple SCSS variables, and the result is this color here. Close that. So with just a few SCSS variables, it goes from this to that. By setting up your themes with these different levels of SCSS variables, Andrew Barnes found it. That was buried quite well. Well, I think I may have missed the context of what you were talking about there, Mark. But when you set up your SCSS themes in a structured way, you can easily change a few top-level SCSS variables to get a dramatically different result, but it also gives you the ability to drill down and change these really, really minute individual ones without having to go in and, oh, the Universal Studios thing. And good night, James. Have a good one. But so setting up your SCSS variables in this way allows you to do really robust changes at the theme level without having to dive in and break your widgets. You know, so that way you don't end up with a bunch of different versions of your widgets in different instances and stuff like that, which, you know, if you're building for, if you're an in-house developer for an organization, maybe that's not as important to you, you know, but for those in the consulting circles where we're going from customer to customer, you know, it can get annoying when you have to go back and support an older version of a widget and you're like, okay, how did we put this one together back then? So this is one of those things that I like to do to, you know, make life easier on myself. So what this looks like is I can assign the CC skeleton meta font color to the text muted color here at the theme level. I still put a question mark there. Did it twice. There we go. So I'm going to give myself a little comment there to note where I actually took over from the Lahala, or however we're supposed to pronounce it.
Lahala.
And then we can turn around and save this. And this can also help you out if you have multiple portals with the same organization. So now I can reuse my widgets, I can reuse my theme across multiple portals, and on a per portal basis, I can potentially tweak some of those values if I need to. So now if I save this, it should still be muted. Yeah, so there we go. It's still I think that's still muted. Let's see. Don't think it's 717171 though.
You don't?
I don't know. Maybe it is. Heck if I know.
For your muted text?
I'm not the color expert. I feel like it's a little bit darker. I guess I could just inspect element and find out.
You could.
Probably be the easier approach.
Why don't you do that?
I will. 666.
It does not say 666.
It's six. Well, I mean, it's 6 sixes, but because it's 6 of the same digit, it can be shorthanded to 666.
No. So it is 666?
Oh goodness.
Okay, he's fine. He's tired.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, essentially what I would normally do is I would go through, and I may do this later on some other time, might not stream this one. I might just work on this one quietly, some random 3 a.m. or something.
Don't wake me up.
Yeah, I know. But usually what I would do is I would go through here and like font families. I would turn around and I would replace that with maybe a CC skeleton, title font, go through and replace these different background colors. And I would give a bunch of, knobs and levers to improve what I can change about the styles of this widget without actually having to dive into the code of it.
Really helps keep your continuity across your different widgets and things like that.
Exactly, and that's another thing. And when you look at a lot of the native service portal widgets that exist, there's a lot of little variations. Some of them will use an H2 in the panel. Some of them will use an H1 in the panel. And there's a lot of differences between the widgets that are created by the different teams at ServiceNow, and it can make things very complicated for trying to create very simple themes. Now, I haven't dug so much into the Lahala, Lajala, La Jolla.
La Jolla is the actual pronunciation.
It's La Jolla? Okay.
That's what Mark said anyway.
We'll go with it. So the La Jolla theme, I haven't dug as much into that one to see if there are more because I mean, certainly it seems there are more variables in it than what I am accustomed to seeing in the previous version. So it's entirely possible that there's better structure in some of the more recent widgets, but I do still see a lot of variation across widgets in different instances that I'm working in. So this is one thing that when I'm building custom widgets and custom themes, I pay very close attention to try and maintain as much continuity as possible across. And again, that's where those theme level SCSS variables come into play. In widgets and themes where I have put a lot of time and effort into getting it just right, you will see very, very few font sizes, borders. You'll see very few actual declarations in my widgets. Most of it is variables with sensible defaults set somewhere along the way.
Yep.
But with that, I'm actually pretty happy with what we've got on this widget so far. And I think I feel pretty good with wrapping up this chapter, calling this one done enough that when I actually need to use it for a customer, it'll be there and waiting for me.
Next, we should tackle pagination.
I actually think next I am going to be moving away from Service Portal specific stuff. I'm sorry. It'll circle back to Service Portal eventually.
Always circles back to Service.
It always circles back to Service Portal. But I have an obsession over a certain app that has been driving me nuts ever since a certain higher ed organization planted the seed in my mind. And it has been just tearing at me for probably about 6 months now. And I want to build this application. but it's been a struggle finding time for it. So I think what I'm going to do is take that as my next project, is building this app. And I am going to leave it at that for now and not actually unveil what the app is. Well, I'll leave that as a teaser, a cliffhanger, if you will. Why are you shaking your head at me?
Because I've been on the receiving end of cliffhangers, and I don't appreciate them.
I know, but I do. I love them. I love the excitement, the thrill, the drama.
Yeah, you do like the drama, that's for sure.
Only in the theater, though.
Oh, nice. All right, I can do that.
All right, so with that, guys, I am going to wrap this one up for tonight and wrap up this chapter on the skeleton loading. All of this, all for that little quick, brief microsecond of an animation, but I'm feeling really good about what we built on it.
6 nights worth of work.
Well, I mean, if it was like day job effort, this is what, about 7 hours in total, 8 hours in total. So, in all, this widget, as you see it here, is about 1 day's worth of work. And at least 1 hour of that was just me fiddling with equal signs.
Yep. And at least another 30 minutes of it is me giving smart aleck comments and commentary on fonts. So
yeah,
maybe 6 hours.
So, really just a great testament to the capabilities of Service Portal and, how easy it makes it for building these components. It really makes snapping this stuff together quick. I thoroughly enjoy it. So next time we will be digging into something new, a scoped application, and hopefully I will see you guys then. 15 if you're consulting, Mark Scott says.
Oh, that's fun. You have to have a send-off.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
You can't just quit though. You have to have a send-off.
I don't have a send-off.
Until next time, this is Travis Tolson with CodeCreative.
I hope there's a next time. This is Travis Tolson with CodeCreative.
Y'all have a good night.
Thanks a lot, guys. See you next time.